Hello and welcome back. In a previous video we talked about reminders or adding reminders to a Google Calendar. Today we're going to look at something called tasks. Now as we addressed in a previous video, you used to have to choose between the two. You could have reminders or tasks, but now you can have both. If we look to the right, you can see that the tasks have actually been integrated into the calendar, and here's an icon to open that up right here. And you can see this area opens to the right, and this will list out your tasks once they're added. Now, on the left, when I look at all my calendars, you'll notice there is a tasks box over here. So this is a separate calendar. So I can keep this list here, but unless I turn it on by clicking in that box, they won't appear on my calendar. And very often using those in conjunction, having them both on your calendar and in this task list is a good way to work. Okay, so one thing we can do is we can add a task directly through the calendar. So if I were to click on a date, you'll notice that when a tasks calendar is on, I have this option here to add a task. I'm going to cancel that for a second. And note that if I had my reminders calendar visible, and I can see there are some reminders on here, and do the same thing, I would now have the choice between making it a task or reminder or keeping it as an event, which would just be a normal thing to do on my calendar. Okay, so I'm going to give it a title. And I'm going to create that as a task. Now when you create it as a task, of course you've got the date here. If I uncheck the all day, you can see that it's got a time option. So this is something I can use to specify exactly when I want to do this. Let's just say 7:30 p.m. for now. I can add a description directly into the box here. And you can see it's listing down at the bottom which list it's going to go on. Now right now I only have one list, Rich's list, but you'll see that later I can create additional lists if I want, and if I did they would appear down here and I could assign it to a very specific list. So I say save, it appears on my calendar and it appears in my tasks list. Now once something is in my task list, now this happened a week ago, so that's probably not going to be too useful to me, I can do one of two things. I can either click it, indicating that I've completed that task, and if I don't, it will remain on this list, or I could go to edit, and in this case let me just move it to a future date, and you'll see that it now changes on my calendar as well. There it is, 7:30, take out the garbage, right on the 28th. Now, I do have the option to add subtasks, which is nice. So if I have a major task but I need to break it up into pieces, which I really don't here, but let's say that I do, collect recyclables, probably misspelled, and another subtask would be empty all garbage cans. And what this allows me to do with the subtasks then is to check off just specific subtasks. They won't appear here on my calendar, but if I do, and if I do open it up, again, they don't appear here, they only appear in my task list, subtasks. I can of course edit that directly from the calendar, but I have fewer options. Or I can open up tasks in this right sidebar and do the edits there where I'll have more control. Now the subtasks don't allow you to get in and do details. They're just kind of a label or a listing. But as I complete things, I can check them off. And note that I've moved from my list into this particular task. So to get back to my list, I would click the arrow up there. And now I can see the list is still here. There's no subtasks on it, so I'm going to assume it's complete, and I can simply check it off and it will disappear. Now, down at the bottom of the screen, wait a second for this to go away, but down at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see that I have a number of completed tasks. And if I want to see the tasks I've actually completed, I click on it and they're here. I can scroll through them. And I can bring them back if I want. So take out the garbage. I can just uncheck that and it'll reappear on the list. So if you make a mistake, it's pretty easy to fix. However, if I want to just clean up, this is not really important information for me, so I'll get rid of it. I can just come in here and say delete all completed tasks. And then the tasks that haven't been checked off remained, but the tasks I have completed are now out of the system completely. Okay, other options. I can create a new list. So if I click on the down arrow next to any existing list, I can create a new list. Takes a second. Now I'm in second list, and you can see that that's empty. I can always go back to my first list where my task is still available to me, but let's go to my second. Okay. You can also add tasks directly from the taskbar. We did it through the calendar before, but if I hit the plus sign, you can see that I can just type in here a task that I need to do. Okay, and I can create as many as I want. Okay, creating them this way gives me the basics, but if I want to add anything additional, I mean, these won't appear on the calendar because there's no time or date associated with them, and that's okay. Sometimes that's fine. You have a list of things you want to do, but not a specific time where they need to be done. You click the Edit option, and here's where you can add details. Here's where I can, we looked at this before, move it between lists if I'd like. I can add a time and a date, so maybe this Sunday night is the date where it's really important and I want to go to bed. I'm going to go to bed at 9 p.m. because I really want to get that sleep. And I say OK. So this is on the 24th, and you can see it just appeared on my calendar. So adding a date will cause it to appear on your calendar. And if I come in here to edit it by clicking on it, I can also set a repeat. So this is similar to a regular calendar event. I would like it to repeat every, well, let's make this 7 days. So every Sunday night it's going to be super important to get more sleep, and there you go. If I scroll through my calendar, it's on there. So tasks is a pretty basic function. You may choose to use it, you may choose not to use it, but if you're very invested in your calendar, if you spend a lot of time on your calendar, this can be an additional feature to add into your organizational process. You may choose to use reminders instead, you may choose to use both, you may choose to use neither. It's certainly up to you. But just know that that's available to you, and it's a fairly simple process to use.